Hey everyone, welcome to another video of Nameless Things. So today we're taking a look at the Amazing Spider-Man issue 300. This is a facsimile edition that came out in 2023. This is not the actual issue that came out in 1988. God, I wish I had that issue. It would be so awesome. But nonetheless, this is a single issue copy, which is a facsimile. It has all the same ads, and even the paper quality is kind of similar. Not exactly, because back then they used more like a newspaper material for the papers. This is a bit more better in quality, but nonetheless it is an almost perfect replica. And you will notice there are some changes, like obviously you see the price here, it says 6.99. Back then it was obviously a different price, and here there used to be either a big picture of Spider-Man or a big barcode, which is not here obviously, and you also have this Marvel logo, which was not there in the original. But barring these changes, it is the exact same replica of the issue that came out in 1988. And this issue is pretty iconic. This is one of the holy grails of the copper age comic line. This cover itself is pretty iconic. This is one of Todd McFarlane's most recognized and replicated works, and this Spider-Man swinging in the black suit, which, and this is also the issue where we got the origin and the full appearance of Venom. And we did get a few cameos in issue 298 and 299 with him just showing up in a few panels, but this is his full appearance in this, the full interaction with him and Spider-Man for the very first time, and his whole origin story is told in this particular issue. And what's funny about this is that Todd McFarlane didn't like Spider-Man in the black suit. He loved him more in the red and blue suit, which is kind of funny because I really love his drawing of Spider-Man in the black suit because I think they look so cool and awesome. But in any case, regardless, I just love him drawing Spider-Man because that's just so awesome. And this is one issue I definitely am so glad to have in a single issue version. I hope I someday get a copy of the one that came out in 1988. Before we do a dive into this issue, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for more such videos, and you can share this with all your friends as well. Right, I have the issue out from the bag and board over here, holding it in its raw format. It's in peak perfect condition. It is so amazing and beautiful to look at. I hope to someday get this signed by McFarlane if I ever meet him. And there's a lot of cases where I've seen even duplicates. That's because this doesn't completely connect towards the end, but this is a facsimile of the original one, so there's no default in that. The back has definitely seen better days. You can see there's a few creases over here, but it's okay. It luckily none of the pages inside are folded like that, so I'm just glad that none of the pages are crippled like that. So let's take a look at it. Yeah, so we have the ads over here, and as you can see, this is Mary Jane cowering in fear. So just a little backup, in the previous issue, which was 299, which was where we got the first cameo and appearance of Venom. We had the full appearance in this one, but in the last panel we got the first look of Venom as he was hiding in the shadows, and Mary Jane was totally freaked out looking at it because obviously we see a dark brooding Spider-Man and suddenly there's a big grinning mouth, so that's definitely going to be scary as hell. Yeah, and then she sees Peter come home, but he's in the same costume, and that still scares her until he removes the mask, and then she realizes it's Peter. And she's just talking about how and what she just saw, and Peter is like confused as to seeing how she's shaking and trembling with fear because he's never seen Mary Jane like that. You can see Eddie Brock going back to his apartment, waiting and hoping to run into Spider-Man, and this is the old ads we've got over here. And you can see Peter and MJ, they've checked into a hotel because Mary Jane wasn't feeling so comfortable to be in their home. So Peter's not getting any sleep, thinking about what has happened, and then he recalls as it the details of the event that Mary Jane tells to Peter. It makes him remember this symbiote so that he got from the battle world, and you can see a small a recap of that. And this is very important because back in the day we didn't have any digital scans, so they would have to do quick recaps like this by drawing a few of the iconic scenes. So this is from Secret Wars 8 where he first got the suit in Battle World, and this is from Amazing Spider-Man issue 258 where he gets it tested by Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four, and then they take the suit out from him because he realized it's a it's a symbiote and it's a live being. But then it still comes back to him and tries to bond with him in Web of Spider-Man issue number 1. But then the church using the bells, he removes the suit, and Peter thought the symbiote died due to the sounds of the bell, but now he's having second thoughts. And you can see this is some talks about some talks going on with Mary Jane and Peter about their married life. And I really love this, man. I really wish Marvel had just left it at this with their mature relationship, but yeah, I don't know, they just decided to give the middle finger to all Spider-Man fans. Yeah, Peter goes back to his old apartment to take the sonic gun from the Fantastic Four. And as he roams through the city, he feels like someone is following him, and it is Eddie Brock. But then he quickly changes back into Spider-Man and swings away. This is Mary Jane and Peter checking their new condo, visiting Aunt May, and this is them moving into their new condo, which is when Peter observes the black suited guy swinging away. Okay, that sounded sus, but you get what I'm meaning. And he chases him into an abandoned warehouse, and then boom, Venom throws him, introducing himself. And a lot of action in this one issue, a lot of action scenes. And here the mask flows away, revealing the face of Eddie Brock. So Eddie Brock gives his flashback of how he was a reporter, and this goes all the way back to the incidents of the Sin Eater, who had murdered a police detective who was actually on good terms with Spider-Man. And Spider-Man had exposed the real criminal, but Eddie Brock, because he wanted to become a big journalist, kind of gave out a false news, which then when Spider-Man exposed the real criminal, it brought him a lot of shame. And then he was sacked from his job, and he couldn't get a decent job anywhere. He tried to take out the frustration by working out, but that didn't work very well for him. And you would recognize some of these panels from the Spider-Man animated series, where Eddie Brock is working out and has the tapings of all of Spider-Man's news over his house. And this is Eddie Brock getting religion and going to the church, which is where the symbiote senses his hatred for Spider-Man and bonds with him, giving life to Venom. And slowly Spider-Man is reaching out to the sonic gun, and as he tries to leap for it, Venom notices it and then gets into action. And the thing about here is, many villains have tried to, defeat Spider-Man before, but here Venom straight up wants to murder Spider-Man and Peter Parker. So that's one thing that's, making them ruthless in their fighting. Venom's got all his abilities. He has all of Spider-Man's powers with enhanced strength, and Brock is an extremely muscular guy. So there is a lot in favor of Venom over here compared when he's, fighting against Spider-Man. And Spider-Man eventually gets the gun and shoots at it, but it doesn't detach from him, and that makes him realize the fact that the symbiote has completely bonded with Eddie Brock. So if he kills the symbiote, it also kills Brock. And Spider-Man's one guy who doesn't want to take a life no matter what. Yeah, but Venom pulls him back in and knocks him out, and then tapes him to a church bell. So this was a pretty interesting idea. So Eddie Brock, leaves Spider-Man taped to the bell, so that when the time comes, the bells will start chiming in and squash Spider-Man. And he's trying hard to get away from the webbing, and Eddie Brock is leaving because he knows obviously that sound is going to affect the symbiote as well. So he leaves for the moment, but Peter Parker is using all his strength to get out over there, and he manages to get out by holding on to the bell. And Venom comes back, seeing that Spider-Man has escaped to come to finish the job, but Spider-Man escapes, and then he starts to think about how he can win against Venom, trying to analyze all his strengths and weaknesses, until he finally realizes that the Venom uses organic webbing compared to Peter, who has to synthetically make it. So having used all that amount of webbing to tape him to that bell, he would be running pretty low on his fuel reserves, and he uses that as a strategy, trying to force him to use his webbing until finally he runs out of resources and falls down. So he calls over the Fantastic Four, and they have a containment cage for Venom. Yeah, you can see him going back, and Mary Jane is not so comfortable with his new costume, especially after all the recent events. So even Peter decides to give up that costume, now realizing that Venom will not go away there without killing Eddie Brock. So he gives up the black and white suit, and instead Mary Jane gives him the old red and blue suit, and you can see him swinging across New York in the snow, quite similar, or this definitely reminds me of that No Way Home final swing scene. So that was the video, guys. And I'm so glad that Marvel is doing these facsimile editions of such iconic issues, because it's definitely more affordable than getting the original. But even in current days, the facsimiles, depending upon the key issues, even they themselves become quite expensive, which is quite unfortunate. Which is why I also love True Believers, which are like just dollar comics and you can afford them. Obviously, it does not have the same ads as the originals does, but for some people who just want to have a single issue format of these key issues, True Believers would be the best way to go about. And I hope Marvel continues that and puts out True Believers of a lot more issues like that. Let me know what you think about this Facsimile and True Believer editions in the comments below, and I will catch you guys next time.